Now it's time to move on to calendars and Outlook, and this is a really great feature to help you manage your time more effectively. Over here in the navigator on the left, we're going to go to Calendar. And by default, this is the view that I'm getting of today. We're just going to quickly go through some of the interface stuff with the calendar here, just so you can, be a little more comfortable getting around. At the top, we've got this calendar navigator, and this allows us to skip through months and select, you can just jump to a date. You will notice that some of the dates here are not in bold and some are in bold. The ones that are in bold let me know that I've got some type of appointment on that date. I don't know what it is, but I've got an appointment. If I was to click, for example, March the 8th, I don't have any appointments. And then if I selected February 23rd, it's bold, and it shows me that I do have something scheduled there. So whenever it's bold, that means you've got an appointment for that date. So if you're looking for a free date, then you can select something. If you've got an all-day event that you want to conduct and you don't want anything going on that day, then you can select a free date that way. Now, if you need to skip around months, for example, right now I'm looking at February and March. Click the right arrow here, and that kind of skips things along. Now we're looking at March and April and May, and then we can go back to our original, the current month. And incidentally, let me go ahead and skip through here several months, and we'll just skip ahead to August 14th. Okay, we've got one little appointment going on here. What you'll find is a lot of times you're out there doing some scheduling or something like that, finding something that's off in the future, and you want to quickly get back to today's date. There's a button on the toolbar specifically for that, today. You click on that, and it immediately takes you back to the current date. Now, before we leave the navigation section over here, I want you to notice that there are some things that you necessarily don't need to see, and there are things that you might want to see. My calendars is a group. Let's click the double down arrows there, and you can see that I've got a couple of calendars listed there. We're going to deal specifically with different multiple calendars later on. So for now, I'm just going to hide that, but I want to point out that as you show and hide things in the navigation here, other things either disappear or appear. So when I show my calendars, that takes off one of the months that I'm able to see here. When I close it, then I get to see another month. The same thing holds true down here at the bottom. You see all these icons right here? If you know what the icons mean, I'm going to give you just a little bit of advice here. You can hide the words and just see the icons down here across the bottom. For example, you can see that I've got notes here, folder list, and shortcuts. Well, this little handle right here, and I know it's a handle because of the little dots right there. And then when I hover over it, I get the double arrow. If I click and drag this up, as I drag higher, these icons are disappearing and they're showing up in the list here. As I drag this down more, watch, every time I go down a little bit, one of the items will disappear off of here and it'll get dropped down to the bottom. And I can do this all the way down to the very end. And once I do that, notice I've gotten rid of a lot of space here. I've freed up some space, and now I'm seeing 3 months at a time. So depending on what kind of scheduling you do, you might want to do something like this where you can quickly jump back and forth just with the icons. And the icons are pretty helpful. Obviously, this is email. This is a calendar. This is contacts, which we'll be looking at later on. This is our tasks, notes. It looks like a little notepad. So the icons are pretty descriptive. So that's a pretty easy way to figure things out and not have it be obstructing your view all the time. Now, in the main calendar area over here, this is laid out pretty straightforward. We have the times incrementing every hour, and then there's a lighter line in the middle, and that denotes a half hour. So if something shows up at the very top, then that would be scheduled for 11, and if I hover over it, it does show you that there from 11 to 11:30. Outlook has a working time by default going from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and that is set by, notice I've got white background here from 8 to 5, And then after 5, everything is shaded. That's because this is supposed to be, my off time. So I might schedule some type of event after that. You can schedule for those events, but this is just giving you like a visual reference when you're supposed to be working and when you're not. You can set those hours yourself, by the way, and I'll show you how to do that later on. You can navigate dates inside of this area as well. So if I click the right arrow here, that takes me forward to February 16th, 17th. I can go back and scroll through here, and you'll notice that over here we're skipping around. As I click these buttons, it's changing the view. And today's date is always outlined with a red box. And again, I can click today to snap right back to that. We're looking at the daily view right now, so that's showing me one day at a time. If I want to look at the whole week, I'll click week here, and that'll kind of give me an overview of what's going to happen this week. And then month, I can show the whole month at a time. Now back on week, I've got 2 options here. I can show the full week, which would give me Saturday and Sunday, or I can show just my work week, which is going to give me Monday through Friday. Let's go ahead and switch back to day. And there's one more thing I want to talk to you about as far as the interface itself, and that's the views that you can have inside of Outlook. Let's go to view and down to current view. Right now we're looking at day, week, month, which is just kind of like a standard calendar type view, but we do have options to change things. Like we can view events, and we'll learn more about what the different types of events, the different types of things that we can enter in calendars. We can have appointments, we can have events, and we'll learn more about that later on. But when we do current view, that lets us like active appointments. Okay, these are obviously, I think I missed some of these, but this just lets you see specific things that you've got lined up. For example, I know I've got this spring gardening workshop. Gives you some brief information about it. You can double click on it and it'll open the event up for you. Most of the time, I pretty much stick with the standard day, week, month type view. Up next, we're going to talk about the different types of items that you can have in your calendar.